If I were to ask you, what's your greatest memory of all time in your whole life so far, what would you say? It's a fun question to just start up a conversation with people. And I ask these questions a lot because I love conversations, especially around the holidays. Christmas, any chance I would get when I'm in a conversation with an older person around Christmas is say, hey, let me ask you a crazy question. When you were a child, what's the one toy that you remember getting that just blew you away? And they'll have these awesome stories, whether it's family sacrifice, getting the toy, but you can see them automatically have a memory to go back into their mind and recreate or relive, relive that moment. And just their face changes. Like if they're kind of stern, you can see it kind of loosen up, or relax, or a grin, or just a missing of their loved ones that they shared that moment with. But our mind is crazy with being able to do that. And the reason I bring that up is because it's part of life's field guide type wisdom. Is I just want to bring something up today. And a lot of things that I say, I know that they seem common sense, they seem extremely agreeable, they may bore you. But when you go below the surface of what I'm saying and you actually make it part of your life instead of just, yeah, it's a good idea, man, it changes so much. And today I want to just implement this phrase into your life that is so agreeable. And you may think, oh yeah, that's already got that one checked. But this, please hear me out. I want you to become the greatest memory maker that you could ever be. Like, be intentional about that, as if memories were like a pirate's treasure and you are Blackbeard searching for the greatest treasures on earth, to accumulate them and to collect them. And whenever I give this talk, I always tell people, when you become a memory maker, it's just like hunting. Like it's just like hunting a great trophy, game trophy, or for a meal, or even fishing. And hunting and fishing and experiencing those things. Hunted out this one. This is from my father's cigars, and never had this one, but I'm going to share it and make a memory with you all today of sharing this with you for my first time. So we'll share this memory. And the reason I say it's a lot like hunting, and when you approach it this way, especially the older you get, man, I promise it's a life changer. And here's why I say this. I miss my parents so much, and I cherish the memories that I have with them. But they grew up in a time where it was Polaroid, where you take it, it'd come out the little camera, and you'd shake it or you'd leave it. There was all these tricks that made Polaroid pictures better. But we had that camera. They didn't have a video camera until I was like in high school, and it was this big chunky thing with video VHS tapes in it. So they never had a lot of media that they gathered. Now, we had some pictures, but now the older I am, it's just not enough, even a drop in the bucket. And I would give anything to have videos and videos and videos of my childhood with them, and pictures of my childhood with them. And it's just not available. It's gone. I have those in my mind, but I would love to be able to experience those moments in different ways, and things that I may not have ever heard happened and just forgot because it was childhood. So I committed to doing that. Well, during college, I had to take, because I was an art major, a basic photography class. And I loved it. I loved learning photography composition, and this was old school photography. This was like, go take the pictures, go to the dark room, process your own film, and it was awesome. Now, I'm by no means became a photographer, but I love the process. I love going out and trying to seek out composition and make it interesting, and even just the everyday things around you that you can make interesting. And that was one of our assignments, was to go in your backyard and, without placing something there, just what's there, make it interesting and bring in your picture processed, and then we'll grade it technically about the coloring and everything, but then also the composition and the creativeness. It's pretty good. So anyway, here's what I love challenging young adults is: be a hunter, be a pirate seeking out the treasure. And you guys, you have, and me too, now that I'm still here kicking it, access of the greatest phone cameras in your pocket with you all the time. And a lot of this comes down to selfies, and you post on Instagram what everybody else is posting because that's trendy and it's what everybody else is doing. Okay, sure, I give you that one. But I'm saying be a little bit more intentional. Capture the things. Like hunting, what do? You seek something out, you see it, you nail it, and then you mount it. And then you eat it, you process it, you do what you were meant to do with it. What do you want to do as a memory maker? You want to seek this out, like what's happening around you. And listen, golden rule: do not become the photography paparazzi person in your group who's always got their phone out. But also, don't be so naive to not have some memories. And I'm definitely not saying capture bad moments that could make anybody feel bad. So all that out of the way. What I am saying is every day has a sunrise and a sunset. And you've seen some amazing ones. Every day has moments that, man, I wish I'd captured that moment. Like, I got it. I got that moment. One of the greatest investments that I've ever made for years now, the investment that I made in my family, was to invest as much money monthly as I can in the iCloud. Now, it's not a lot. I don't want you to sound like that's a lot. But it's enough that when I tell people how many pictures are stored on my phone through the iCloud, they are like, what? That's crazy. But what they don't realize is that's from the very first iPhone I ever had. And that was iPhone 1, the first version. And that's especially with Caleb. And I'm not always in his face, but man, I'd want to catch moments. And I want to catch moments, him with us, playing cards, or at Disney, or on a mountain, or at a ball game, or with him and his friends at a ball game, where he got a foul ball. Like, hey, let me get that real quick. Bam, done. It's not this overbearing, let me take a picture of everything. And sometimes it may feel that way to him just because he's on the go. But I promise you, with what my generation lived and is living now, of missing out on memory moments captured from my parents, I want him to have that. Even if he doesn't want to look at them, even if he's different and thinks, I don't ever want to be reminded of that, which I don't see that happening. But when I'm way gone, that him and his children and their children, now we have access to give a legacy of memories and give a legacy of media. And I believe that ripples into, what if Caleb's kids say, man, I remember my grandfather had a picture of him and my dad at this place. I want to reenact that. I want to go see that place. If it's still around. And some of these places, you don't know if they'll still be around. And that's a whole nother reason for memory making. And I know what some people say. I don't want to miss the moment trying to capture the moment. Absolutely not. Don't do that. But here's what I'll tell you is learn the basics of your camera. Learn the basics of being able to shoot it, of knowing some basic settings, maybe even learn some, the portrait mode and the cinematic mode. And you ain't got to get all that. Even if you're just taking pictures, that's great. But to learn a little bit, take the best pictures you can, makes your memories even better. Even better. And I can tell you, I've never, ever regretted doing this. Because now I look back when Caleb was younger, and I love looking at those moments. And even when I got my phone, my parents were still alive, and I have some pictures of them in older golden years, which I cherish. I love that now. I get to see their smile and reminded of that moment when we were by the pool, just chilling and laughing. I love bringing that back up. And our brains, even though they're awesome with recreating and being able to relive these moments, just you could almost smell and taste what's going on around you in that moment. We forget a lot of things. And the older we get, the more we forget. And I want to be like Blackbeard and have all my treasures stored away so that I can enjoy them. The older I get, I remember that. That was so awesome. I can't help but smile even thinking about those things. And to pass on a legacy of memories that Caleb has the option to go reminisce, to go share with his kids. And now the way they're stored, we could print them out, we could put them on a hard drive. Man, these could be passed for generations. And I think about this, the crazy old man thought. Before cameras, man, what if we would have had that technology since the beginning of time? I've thought about that so many times. Is what if somebody would have gotten a picture? What if Adam or Eve would have gotten a picture of the Garden of Eden? What if there would have been a picture of Noah's Ark? Or what if there would have been a picture of the pyramids being built? Or Columbus sailing the ocean blue? Or the natives smoking those massive cigars that were said to be as big as your forearm? Man, I love history. I love history. I love Indiana Jones movies and what was the Nicolas Cage movies, National Treasure movies. Like I love that stuff and think, how cool would it have been to see where my lineage was during that time? To see the people I was related to, how they got here. Listen to them talk. What if there had been videos? Like, I just think that'd be so cool. And now us having the opportunity to do that. Listen, I think there are some things that are extremely important that I'll talk about as this channel grows. And the biggest thing you're always going to hear me say is relationships. Everything is relational. Everything's about relationships. And the biggest part of the ministry God's gave me to oversee and shepherd and to pour into others around the world and to share in the book was chapter 1. The meaning of your life is relationships. Period. Period. Could never find anything that said that statement that direct. And I'm going to do a whole video on that. But so many people have described the meaning of life as a lot of great things that connect back to that word. But if you think about your life, man, the meaning of your life is relationships. The meaning of your business, the meaning of your sports teams, the meaning of your family, the meaning of your friendships, the meaning of your marriage, the meaning of your legacy. The meaning of your life is your relationships. You and God Almighty, your Creator, you and yourself, and you and others. Period. I think that's one of those key things. I think learning how to handle finances is another thing, and I'm still learning that, and that's why I see the importance. Some life skills and being able to navigate that with some basic things you ought to be able to do in life, and to make memories, to be intentional about memory making. I heard somebody say if you climb Mount Everest and you didn't get a picture, is it as meaningful? Well, of course it is to the person that did it, but years later to have that moment, especially those biggie treasures. Child's first day of life as a biggie, your wedding pictures. But you never know what might be the biggie treasure to your children, or your spouse, or your girlfriend, or your boyfriend. It might be that sunset. It might be that just going down to the creek and throwing a line in the creek and catching some bluegill. And some of this is, man, I want to challenge you with your generation and how big Instagram is. If you're hunting memories, if you're a memory maker, it's to track it, to be intentional about it, capture it, shoot it, bam, shot it, got it. Maybe touch it up a little. Like, don't overdo it with the filters. Oh man, I'm just old school. You do whatever you want, but touch it up a little if you want, but then mount it. Like when you walk into a hunter's lodge or a house of somebody who hunts, and they say, hey, that deer right there, we got the head mounted, that fed us for a whole year. That fed my family. Like, we got it processed in the freezer, and that right there was one of my best days. Like, they have a story behind that. They mount that, and you respect that, and that's in an awe type of moment. I challenge you to be intentional about the memories you're making and to mount those like a treasure on your Instagram. Instead of just doing what everybody else does, instead of taking the same poses and the same locations, the same selfies, the amount of memories that you could create, shoot, capture, and mount are endless, infinitely endless. But you got to do it instead of just being like everybody else. You got to do it instead of just being like everybody else. Flood your Instagram with people you love. Flood it with people you love. Flood it with locations. Flood it with sunsets and sunrises, and even in the rain and the snow. A muddy day, a day at the creek. Like, be interesting with your memories, because you have this life here on earth, and then we have eternity. But to be able to experience what you can experience now and to capture that and pass that on is honestly treasure. It is the treasures of life, of your relationships. And here's the regrets. As many great moments as I've captured, there's as many or more that I've missed. And it stings a little bit. It's like a loss in baseball. Like, I take it personal. Dang it. Oh, I should have got that. Like, you see a sunset that's orange, pink, and purple into the blue sky, and then into some navy blue sky. And man, how can I not have gotten that? Or friends around a fire. Man, I missed that. Oh, I should have got that. I let it twinge a little bit, and I giggle because it's kind of almost a sport in my being. Maybe it should be part of your new sport, memory making. You know, I say that when this finally set in with me. My parents were older, and I did get some pictures with them. One of the things I did is I set up my phone on a Coke can. This was at my parents' old home, and Dad, man, what are you doing? Come in here a minute. He didn't know that the phone was on because there's no light, so you don't know if it's recording. I set it there, and I said, hey, do you remember that football story about such and such hit his own player, like running into the sideline, and he thought that he hit their linebacker? He said, yeah, I asked my dad 3 or 4 stories and just let it roll. My dad was a great storyteller. Now, he wouldn't have done that if he knew that I was, hey, Dad, can I take a video of you telling the story? He wasn't that guy, but to capture him in a natural moment telling these stories, I cherish that. I love that. And I get to go back and watch those, and periodically, once a year or so, I do that. I would say get as good as you can with sharing your memories. Man, you can get them printed into little books. You can get them printed into pictures. You can make them into greeting cards. Like, share your memories, man. Like, what? The human experience is relational. And part of that is being intentional, shooting and capturing that, and then sharing it through however you want to mount it. But to not do that and to just say, yeah, Matt, I already do that. Okay, do it more. I'm challenging. Do it more. You'll never regret it. You'll never make a monthly subscription to more iCloud memory just to store photos. You'll never regret that. You'll never regret asking for Christmas or a gift or spending your own money on getting as big a hard drive as you can and downloading those on a hard drive. You won't regret it. You may think, it's kind of tedious, it's time consuming, I want it to be this spontaneous. Well, yeah, the capturing can be. And you're going to miss some. Another trick I would say is if you're trying to capture that moment, shoot a lot more than one picture of it. If you can get it one shot, great, go with it. I usually shoot at least 3 shots of something, just so that, hey, I can take the best out of 3. I can delete the other 2. But you got a chance of oh wow, like there's been moments when I've captured something, somebody's building. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but they're building. Capture that moment, see what they're building. So anyway, man, listen, become a memory maker, be intentional about it, shoot it, capture it, mount it, share it. I know it sounds like common sense. I know it sounds like that's something you already do, but let it be something that's conscious and intentional in your life for the rest of your life. For the rest of your life, if there is ever a situation where you think, I never want to forget this, you better capture it, because you will forget it. I promise you'll forget. It may come back, and I know that people say, there's no way. This one thing that happened, I'll never forget that. I wish I could tap into all my memories. It's just not the human capacity. Maybe with Elon's Neuralink, when we get all that hooked up. I don't know. I'd rather just have it on a hard drive instead of my brain be connected to a hard drive. I think the future is going to be awesome, y'all. I think there's so much coming for your all's generations and future generations that's going to be amazing. Awe-inspiring stuff, like crazy stuff that I never could imagine is going to happen. But I'll tell you what will never change. Since the beginning of creation, since the beginning of the creation of the human species until there is no more. No more time on this earth. No more human species on this earth until it's all eternal. It's never going to stop, never has stopped, never is stopping. Present, past, present, future is relationships. And being able to share that in such a way that you can now. Okay, so I usually tag a verse to this kind of stuff. This is just some generic wisdom from an old dude just sharing with you. And hey, listen, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. If you would consider helping me grow this channel, share it with other people, ask them to subscribe. But on this video, I'm asking you in the comments to just share a memory. Just share a memory. And let that memory soak into your soul for a moment with joy, or just to feel something about that memory and be in that moment and enjoy it or feel it and think, man, I want more of those. So anyway, if we got to throw a verse at it, if we want to put a verse on it, let's do Psalm 90:12. Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Psalm 90:12. There's a lot of other stuff that you could put verses on it, but I mean, a lot of people just put verses in the wrong places at the wrong times, and they misconstrue all that puzzle of scripture and life. And some people put things together awesome. But the reason I put that one out there is to realize that we got to remember that we get in this go mode of just living life in the busy and the chaos, and it's hard for us, me, especially me, to be intentional about taking a step back and taking in this moment, being here in this moment, being present in the moment you're in with the people you're in. And the older I get, this whole numbering, teach me to number my days, is becoming a reality, and realizing, man, this is a thing. No matter if it's 50 more years in this shell, it's not finite. If it's 50 more days, 50 more hours, 50 more minutes, 50 more years, it's not finite. And what I want to do with that time is be a memory maker. I love y'all, and I mean it, and I share this stuff with passion from my heart. I am God's own Gump. I know this isn't revolutionary information for you, but sometimes the simplest information from the simplest person can be life-changing. Man, become a memory maker with all you got. I love you guys. I mean it. It's a pretty good one. And this one's not as expensive. So if you get a chance, try this one. Go make it a great day. And capture some memories.